Hello everyone on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. Welcome to our program series, Facts About Our Country. And the guest of our program is Mr. Panayoti Dimitras, the spokesperson for the Greek Helsinki Monitor, which is one of the leading NGOs working in the field of human rights, and a member of the board of the Strasbourg-based European Implementation Network, AIN, which works on the execution of the European Court of Human Rights judgments in member states of the Council of Europe. Dear Mr. Dimitras, welcome to our program. And here is the first question. As one of the leading NGOs working in the field of human rights, how would you assess the situation of human rights in Greece, including that of the migrants, minorities, and other vulnerable groups?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity. And by the way, congratulations for the great work you are doing parallel to ours. In reply to your question, 20 years ago, the chairperson of one of the United Nations human rights treaty bodies, when reviewing Greece, came to the conclusion, and I'm quoting, there seems not to be a human rights culture in Greece. This means, I believe, that in particular, the vulnerable groups suffer much more from this problem. As Greek Helsinki Monitor has stated several years ago, the restoration of democracy that happened in Greece, but only for the majority population in 1974, is still pending to happen for the ethnic minorities of Turks and Macedonians. They are simply and flatly denied the fundamental right to their ethnic identities. And there is a unanimous inter-party consensus for that denial of identity.
And we know that Greece is among the 10 countries which executes the least the European Court judgments. How many cases against Greece are monitored by the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe?
When you check their website today, for example, you'll see that overall there are some 100 cases under supervision, because for all of them there has not been any satisfactory execution.
And among the cases that are being monitored, in which area are there the most violations of the European Convention?
1/3 of these 100 cases concern inhuman and or degraded treatment arising from poor prison conditions. There's an avalanche of cases there.
And we know that, and we also experience that the issue of national minorities are a taboo in our country. At this point, how would you interpret the Bekir Usta group of cases against Greece, which concern the three associations belonging to the Turkish community of Western Thrace?
Well, in my opinion, this is the worst group of cases for Greece. Why? Well, because last year, Greece's Supreme Court unabashedly stated that it will not implement the judgments of the European Court, in defiance of the obligation that Greece and all other European countries have from the European Convention of Human Rights, the obligation to conform with the judgments of the court, whether they like them or not. The Committee of Ministers has exhausted over so many years all its goodwill towards the Greek government. And unless the Supreme Court changes its case law in the next few months, when there are 2 more decisions to be taken concerning 2 of the 3 Turkish minority associations, the Committee of Ministers will have to launch an infringement procedure against Greece. And if that happens, Greece will be the second country in history after Azerbaijan to be subjected to that procedure, or maybe the third one, as Turkey may also be submitted to the same procedure because of the refusal to set free the human rights activist Osman Kavala.
And here comes the next question. Our country, Greece, also does not execute the court judgment regarding the House of Macedonian civilization, which is not recognized as a Macedonian minority in Greece. And what is your opinion in this regard, the non-implementation of the European Court judgment in this case?
Well, in one way, this is even worse because this is a case for which the European Court of Human Rights has convicted Greece twice for its refusal to register that association. This is extremely rare in the history of the court. The fate of the case before the Committee of Ministers appears to be linked with that of the Bekir Usta group of cases. If the Committee of Ministers sees that for those minority associations, Greece does not seem to change its attitude and conform with judgments, I believe that infringements should be involved for that case too, or it should join, as we have asked, the committee, the group of cases of Bekir Usta, and make it Bekir Usta and House of Macedonian civilization.
And the Committee of Ministers monitors the execution of the European Court judgments in these two cases. As a member of the AIN board and spokesperson of the Greek Helsinki Monitor, I personally know that you are closely monitoring the execution of the court judgments in these two group of cases. And I already know that you submit opinion to the Committee of Ministers in this regard. And what is your opinion and what should be the next step taken by the Committee of Ministers?
Well, as I said before, and this time I will add that we have expressly asked the Committee of Ministers, and so have the Bekir Usta associations. We want them, and that's the only solution, if nothing changes between now and June, when the next examination comes up, to initiate infringement proceedings towards Greece, which means that if Greece doesn't conform to the first step or the second step of the infringement procedures, then the Committee of Ministers will send the cases back to the European Court, and the court will be asked by the Committee of Ministers to rule whether Greece does or does not, I think, respect its obligation to implement the judgments, and may convict Greece this time for failure to implement the judgments. Now, I should say, it's very little known in Greece, that there is a new case of a fourth Turkish minority association, which is now at the first step communicated to Greece by the court. So this case already is an implicit infringement procedure examination, because the court will be asked to rule for that fourth association that is banned. This is the Turkish Women Association of Xanthi, if I remember the title correctly. And in a way, the court will have to review this failure of implementation, and therefore, even before the infringement procedure for the previous three reaches it, it could issue a statement for the fourth one that will be extremely strong in the same direction.
Then we will await the decision concerning the Cultural Association of Turkish Women in the prefecture of Xanthi. And here comes a hot topic in our country. We know that there are cases that have been filed against Greece before the European Court for using illegal methods to push back migrants in the Aegean. And how do you assess those pushbacks from a human rights and legal perspective?
Well, in December 2021, just a few weeks ago, the European Court communicated to Greece at the same time 32 applications, 32, for unlawful and violent pushbacks against asylum seekers. Some of those applicants were stopped at sea before they reached Greek territory. Others were expelled from Greek land, whether in the Evros Maritsa border area or in the Aegean Islands. Greek Helsinki Monitor has also filed before Greek courts more than 200 such cases, which concern more than 10,000 victims. And they are examined by the Greek court and other systems at the same time. It is important to stress, because most people think about the pushback, preventing people from seeking asylum in Greece only, that there is a disgraceful part of these illegal pushbacks, which is that they're not just pushbacks, but they are people, the victims are also robbed of their belongings, they are tortured as punishment, and the women are raped in one way or the other. This practice of torture has now become, in my opinion, much more extensive in numbers than the notorious torture period during the dictatorship between 67 and 74. And this is really unacceptable. I'm going to quote the Commissioner of the European Union, Ylva Johansson, which said, quote, "We can't protect our European border by violating European values, by violating people's rights. This is what Greece is doing in the name of protecting the borders. And this is what is examined by the European courts and the Greek courts. And of course, the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, there will be, I think, an avalanche of judgments against Greece on that."
As a last comment and reply to our last question, what do you think is the root cause of the problem in human rights and the application of democratic principles in our country, and what should be done to solve the current problems concerning national minorities and treatment of migrants and asylum seekers in Greece?
Well, exactly what the chair of that UN treaty body said 20 years ago. There is no human rights culture in Greece. That's the problem. How can it change? Well, only if Greek authorities sincerely would admit that this is a problem and would adopt a national action plan to introduce a human rights culture. A little ironic as a title, but we need a national action plan. Now, this will not happen, I am afraid.
And you said a national action plan for human rights culture. We really read national action plans in other issues, but it seems quite interesting for having a national action plan for a human rights culture in Greece. And with this program, we actually would like to have a sincere dialogue platform for discussing the issues which could be very sensitive for our country, for national authorities, and we hope that this discussion will contribute to the human rights culture in our country. And Mr. Dimitras, thank you for your sincere and open replies for the questions that I asked, and thank you for this program.
I thank you too.
And now I close the program, and we will have another program 2 weeks later. Thank you. Have a good day to all.